Hello and welcome to this edition of World at War. I'm your host, Mohammed Saleh. Finland's accession into the NATO military alliance has officially ended 7 decades of relative peace in Europe. The dissolution of Nordic neutrality also means the dissolution of buffer states. And this means that there is now no more neutral territory that separates Russia and the NATO military alliance. The arc of confrontation has suddenly doubled overnight. For over 7 decades, Europe enjoyed a period of unprecedented peace and prosperity. But it did this after the decades of horrific violence that Europe went through in the 2 world wars. But Europe, it appears, has not learned any lessons. Hostile military alliances are the ingredients that spark off total wars. And Europe is about to learn all over again that taking the frontiers of the NATO military alliance to the doorstep of Russia will plunge Europe into strife and turmoil for decades to come. Even before the ink is dried on Finland's accession papers to NATO, Finland's eastern border has turned into a zone for potential nuclear conflict. For 7 decades, the Yalta Consensus that was arrived at between the Big Three at the end of the Second World War had maintained peace with tension. But now, there'll only be tension and no peace in Europe. Western leaders welcomed Finland into the military alliance with handshakes and beaming smiles. Jens Stoltenberg termed the moment to be historic.
Today is an historic day because in a few hours we will welcome Finland as the 31st member of our alliance. This will make Finland safer and NATO stronger. By becoming a member, Finland will get an ironclad security guarantee. Article 5, our collective defense clause, one for all for one, will now, from today, apply for Finland.
Russia welcomed Finland's accession with massive combat drills involving Su-35 fighter jets, S-400 Triumph air defense systems and aerial bombings. Bombs that weighed anywhere from 100 to 500 kilograms reportedly were dropped in the training grounds. The steady expansion of the NATO military alliance till it has now reached the doorstep of Russia has sowed the seeds of a future conflict in Europe. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu has announced that Moscow will deploy about 12 divisions of its army, that is anywhere from 120 to 150,000 soldiers along Russia's Finnish border. Besides this, Russia has moved an estimated 36 nuclear-capable Iskander missiles. An undisclosed number of S-400 anti-air defense batteries are being stationed along Finland's border. The end of Nordic neutrality means that the Baltic Sea has now effectively turned into a NATO lake. And this means that Russian stakes in holding and controlling the Crimean Peninsula have gone up by several notches. The Baltic Sea itself will likely emerge as the next zone of conflict. Kaliningrad is the headquarters of Russia's formidable Baltic Sea fleet. Dubbed as the world's most dangerous place by some military strategists, the Kaliningrad enclave houses an estimated 12,000 Russian soldiers, 600 units of military equipment, 250 tanks and armored personal carriers, 55 ships and 40 aircraft, besides a bunch of nuclear-capable Iskander missile systems. Kaliningrad's strategic location allows Russia to project power into the heart of Europe. The war in Ukraine has exposed the tenuous fault lines on the European continent. The United States presently has 5 military bases in Europe where it has stationed nuclear weapons. Russia is now planning to install its tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus. For 6 straight years, Finland has been ranked as the world's happiest nation. But with NATO membership, Finland now finds itself on the front lines of a contest between Russia and the West. Europe is about to learn a bitter lesson all over again, as it did in the years leading up to the First World War. Hostile military alliances never establish peace of any kind.